You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. It's all about dating. Who doesn't love to talk about stories of dating, relationships, meeting people? I am your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I'm a certified life, career, yoga, and meditation coach. We are live streaming on Business Talk Radio. Hello, Radio Land. It's nice to have you with us. And hello, social media. My co-host is a dynamo when it comes to learning everything that there is and sharing with the world about matchmaking, dating, and your presence. She is the founder of Presence Intelligence. Welcome, Lisa Manyoky. Hello.
Hey, hello. I missed you all last week.
I know, I missed you too. It wasn't the same without you here.
I know, but I'm happy to be back.
Well, you were sorely missed, and we're glad that you're here because it's not the same. We have so much fun on this show, and we always have people who are experts in terms of matchmaking, dating, relationships, and we need them because people have been separated for too long, and I think soon it's going to be just a free-for-all. People are going to be like, let me out. I want to meet people, right?
I know. We're getting there.
We are. By the way, a couple of people reached out to me. They heard your Presence Intelligence, what the importance of presence is, especially with dating. So would you please, I'm going to spotlight you, tell us about Presence Intelligence and what you do there.
Sure. Well, Presence Intelligence, as I define it, is the ability to align the best parts of who you are on the inside with what you project on the outside. And in dating, it's not a masquerade party. There's no point in showing up and being on your best behavior if the behavior that you're showing is not really who you are. You know, my good friend says, be who you are because the real you is going to show up at some point anyway. That first day you're really hungry or cranky or tired, the real you is going to appear. So I work with people to make certain that they understand who they are, they're really clear about what they want, and making no apologies so that they can put their best foot forward and then find a person who truly meets their needs with integrity.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Lisa. And you're also a TV show host yourself. Would you want to share with us about RVN TV?
Right. I co-host RVN TV with my buddy Mark on Wednesday mornings. That's a variety show. So we interview a number of different people in professions. A lot of fun. And a lot of really good information for a number. I mean, it could be how it feels to have lung cancer and wear a mask, or how to keep your teens preoccupied during COVID when and safe on social media. So it's a really fun show as well.
Well, I saw it last week. You did a great job. And hello to our friends at RVN TV. I used to have a show there as well. And I think it's time that we bring our guests from backstage from Los Angeles. We have Kimmy Seltzer with us, and she is amazing. She's an incredible person. I can't wait to get her out here. Here she is. Hi, Kimmy.
Hello, ladies.
Oh, thanks for being here today.
Oh my God, thanks for having me. And I love this synergy here. This is so, and Lisa, I love that you have this presence intelligence, because you don't know this, but that's one of the things that I work on with people. And I have something called style intelligence, which is kind of similar. So anyway, I was excited to see that.
Style fits in with presence intelligence. Yeah. In fact, you know, how you show up physically, I compare it to, you can look terrific, you can speak well, you can write well, you can have all your ducks in a row, and then show up and be dressed poorly or in a way that's not reflective of who you are, whether that's tattoos and denim vests or Brooks Brothers suits. It doesn't matter. You have to wear what really reflects who you are, or else you risk making a miss when you're meeting people.
Amen.
I can see some future collaboration taking place between the two of you. And you know, that's what I think is so cool about coaching and coaches. We all want to help each other.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Kimmy, tell us about how you got started down this path of bringing people together to find love, and also helping people pick out your style coach, right? So you kind of mold them or help shape them before they go out into the world. So tell us all about that, please.
I'm so glad you asked about my story because, like sometimes people read my bio, and although I've been blessed with like amazing experiences, both professionally and personally, the real reason why I got into doing what I do is because of my own story, my own transformation. I would not be here today had things had not progressed in the way they did. And so long and the short of it is that I practiced as a therapist for many, many years in a traditional sense. I'm from Chicago, and in Chicago, I lived a very traditional life. I practiced a very traditional profession as a therapist, and life was going on as planned. I had the kids, the picket fence, the husband at the time. I still have the kids. I don't have the husband any longer. Obviously, you know where the story's going. And so what we did is we all picked up and we moved across the country here to La La Land, where we land. And we did what all the other people here do. We get a divorce, and obviously joking because there were definite issues going on in this fairy tale, right? But I have to say it was a very dark moment in my life. I called it my black period. And the reason why I call it that is not only was my mindset very dark, but my clothes reflected that. So that's why I love that we kind of started with the whole like presence and how we show up. And I was going down a really dark path. I didn't know what I was going to do with this new life. I mean, if you were to ask me to be a therapist in that moment in time, I would have said, you think you got issues? Let me go on the couch for a second, because I was no way, shape, or form like able to even help other people, let alone myself. And here's the kicker, and it literally changed the course of the entire way I work with people, is that I was a therapist, right? I should know better. I had therapy myself. I had a great support system. All my friends rallied, my family as well. And so up here, I knew what I needed to do to get unstuck, but yet I still couldn't get out of my own way. And I'll never forget that moment when I woke up one day, I looked in the mirror, and I was like horrified. I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I become? I saw before me this really sad, frumpy mommy. I was still wearing my nursing bras. Hint, I was not nursing any longer. So you can get kind of the picture here. I was stuck in my clothes, stuck in my mindset. I didn't even see myself. And so I said, you know what? I need to get moving. I need to start doing something. I had everything up here, but I couldn't move. And so what does a girl do when nothing fits her and I'm wearing all these like horrible clothes? I go shopping. This is where it all started. So I go shopping, and of course, I'm doing the same thing that I always do. I'm picking black clothes, but I think I'm up-leveling myself, right? Because, oh no, they're new clothes. I'm going to be like shiny and new. And this personal shopper, she's watching me, and she comes up to me and she says, ma'am, I've been watching you, and I really think you should try this on. And she holds up this red dress that looked like 3 sizes too small. I said, that's so sweet of you, but it's really not my size. And that is so not my color. She said, honey, that is your size. That is your color. Try it on. Like, bam. It was like she hit me over the head with that red dress. And I call it my red dress moment. And it's kind of the foundation of like what I work on with people now, having that red dress moment. And so I said, okay, you know what? She's right. Like that moment in time too, I could hear her message. It was something I needed to hear. So I slipped on that red dress. I twirled around like Cinderella, and I looked in the mirror, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a princess. Like I couldn't believe what I saw. And I realized that I had been hiding. I had been hiding in those black clothes. And so I decided to buy that dress, and I walked out into the world, and I almost saw it as a costume, and I call it now costume confidence, right? And I just started marinating in getting used to being seen, because the reality is that the black clothes was a cloak to keep me invisible from those aliens called men, right? I was horrified. I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know like if I could look at them in the eyes, but I was scared of getting the attention. So I had to get used to being seen, getting used to being heard. And I realized in that moment too that there was a symbiotic relationship between the outer and the inner when it came to confidence. And so that's where kind of my business was born. And instead of working from the inside out, I now work from the outside in. And that's why the formula that I use, it's called the Charisma Quotient. It's the name of my podcast. It's the name of hopefully my book one day. And there are 3 pillars in which I work with people. The first being style intelligence. And your style intelligence is what's on the outside. It's kind of like, what you were talking about. It's your presence. It's your body language, your first impressions, your wardrobe. It's the messages that you're sending out into the world. And I feel like it's the quickest gateway into someone's confidence, especially as you get validity for it, right? Like you get recognized for it. And so that grows. Then I work on the inside, and that's me being a therapist, helping people with their emotional intelligence, how they express themselves, how they're in their vulnerability and authenticity, so that people really are connecting in that way. And then the third is your social intelligence, which is how you interact with people, the world. Before COVID hit, and I will be getting back to this, I'm so excited. I do these wing girl sessions where I take people out and kind of like Hitch, but I call myself Hitchette, meets what not to wear. And I combine them and we go shopping and flirting and really teaching people how to interact with each other so that you get opportunity to meet. So I love the word charisma because it kind of captures everything. It's that magnetism that just draws people to you so that people get to know you. And here's the thing lastly that I'll say is that none of this is really changing who you are. It's about marketing yourself so that someone gets to know who you are. And that is the key because it really does come from within, which then radiates outward. So that's my story.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That was just your honesty, your candor, your transparency. I have thought to myself many times, what is it like to be a therapist and hear other people's stories over and over and over again? And what do you do with all the emotions that you have about your own life plus the things that you're listening to?
Yeah, and honestly, it's funny, when I was a therapist, I really thought I was helping people. And I know I did, but it wasn't until I went through my own story when I was like, wow, I really didn't get it. I was like, now I really understand. And I've been through it. I've been through the, kind of the battlefield. I've earned my stripes. I understand the nuances and what people go through dating later in life, because it is different than when you were in your 20s and you have different goals and different fears and baggage and all of that stuff that gets like in your head. And how do you work through it? So nowadays, it's interesting because of all the twists and turns that I've done in my business. I now call myself a dating strategist and a confidence therapist because I believe we're all pretty savvy at this point and we know a lot of our issues, but where I think people get stuck is the strategy and approach to break old habits. And so I like to sit down with people and develop a plan based on those 3 pillars on like, where are the missing pieces? Like, where are the roadblocks? And then creating a strategy that gets people moving, that gets people like, I'm very results oriented. I feel like we can all talk to death. But when I see a woman put on, a dress for the first time and sees herself that way, that is way more effective than sitting there and doing a bunch of cognitive therapy on her. Like I just see it, and it sticks. The sticking power is amazing.
One of my colleagues says, if we only needed information, we'd all be rich, thin, and healthy. Right. I mean, right. You can open up your computer and read any number of articles about how to, and then don't do. So the importance of having an ally, I'm resonating with your story about the clothing, because when my ex-husband left, I got a phone call from this woman who owned a really fancy schmancy dress store. She said, I'll see you in 30 minutes, Lisa. And I'm like, and why? She said, just get over here. Her name was Evelyn. And when I got in this store, she had nobody else in the store, and she laid out a pair of brown pants and a cream shirt and a pair of blue ones and a black, and all these ensembles that were a size 4. I mean, I was probably wearing 8s or 10s just because, I was
right.
You just cover up. And I said, that's the wrong size. She said, go put it on. And she was bossy. But she ended up buying me an entire suit. We're talking high-end stuff, and I bought some of the other ones. But she outfitted me immediately with a suite of clothing that fit my size, that flattered my body, and that made me feel really good. I would never have done that on my own. So when you talk about what you do, it's so much easier for men and women to have an ally who say, hey, I'm going to do it with you, not for you, but with you. It's a great exercise in confidence for sure.
Absolutely. And I think on top of that, focusing in when it comes to dating on what a good dating image, which is different than your corporate image or different from your mommy or daddy image. And that's sometimes something that's really not talked about, because you may have a good style, but it's not necessarily what the opposite sex likes or is attracted to. So anyway, I know to go to commercial, but still, that'd be fun to talk about.
Yeah, let's pick that back up when we come back. Stay with us. We'll be right back on It's All About Dating on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn.
I don't think men are superficial idiots, that their brains are wired to be visual. I'm told I give great advice.
Nike Just Do It for exercise, I think really applies to sex too.
I've coached hundreds of men and women.
So I disagree with her where she's like, put it all out there on the first date. An open book is not sexy.
Exactly. Do you have relationship questions? Chances are one of my clients or myself or my friends have gone through the same thing, and I already made a video about it. So I invite you to check out my YouTube channel, Donna Barnes. I've made hundreds of advice videos based on real life experiences so that you can make better choices.
In my upcoming Breakup Recovery Action Plan, there's going to be checklists and quizzes.
Best information that I've ever experienced or acquired. If you're stuck and can't move forward or let go, my action plan is built to help you. Subscribe to my channel. I'll help you have better relationships.
Located at 121 Haddon Avenue in Westmont, New Jersey, is Margie Cedrone, artisan jeweler. Margie's been in business for more than 30 years. She works with her clients to create custom pieces of jewelry to reflect their personality and help them make their own bold statement. Starting in the renowned Jewelers Row in Center City, Philadelphia in 1988, Margie works directly with her clients to develop one-of-a-kind pieces such as necklaces, engagement rings, wedding bands, unique watches and tennis bracelets, as well as a myriad of rings and earrings for everyone in your family. She also has worked directly with Dr. Jacalyn over the years, creating unique pieces of jewelry to reflect her personality. She does pearl stringing and repairs on site at 121 Haddon Avenue. Call or text Margie at 215-384-7155. Margie Cedrone Jewelry is open by appointment only. Make your own bold statement.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. It's all about dating. I am your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. With me is my co-host, Lisa Manyoky, and our special guest from Los Angeles, Kimmy Seltzer. Welcome back. Glad you guys stayed around. So where were we with the break? We were talking about so many important things. Which one should we pick up with? Kimmy, what would you like to?
Well, I think we were talking about how your dating look should be a little bit different than your regular look or your corporate look or that kind of thing. And, you know, it just, I love talking about the attraction factor and like how, and using charisma as well as ways of talking about like what creates that attraction factor that's, you know, different, especially as you're first showing up on a date or you're out and about, you know, and how do you attract that kind of energy to you? And, you know, what's really funny, I work with men as well, both men and women. And I think there is something happening, and especially with COVID, I think with the masks, there's this weird kind of social thing that's going on. I don't know if you've seen it, but, you know, just because we have our masks on doesn't mean that we avoid eye contact. And I think we've become almost avoidant of each other in some ways. And so it's like, I want to also inspire and motivate everyone to know that like your match is everywhere and anywhere. And, you know, as you walk through the world, to open your eyes and lift the blinders off and see like who's in front of you. Because so much magic can happen when you take that in. Because, you know, the men are telling me, well, you know, the women just aren't approachable these days. They have the frowny face on, you know, they're looking down, they're not, you know, making eye contact. There's even smiling. You can smile behind a mask. And even if your mask is off, just smile. And, you know, then the women are saying, well, the men aren't approaching anymore. Like it's the man's job to approach. So we're at a stalemate, basically, like we're not meeting each other. So, you know, I've been doing a lot of flirt workshops lately. This has been a big thing that I've been working on during the pandemic and both before and during. And I found that there's these kind of secret ingredients that people can pay attention to. And they're very simple, just so that you are attracting someone and you have that energy to attract that in.
I have a question for you both. I just want to announce the phone number. If anybody wants to call in, I'm sure, Kim, you'd love to hear from people, right?
Oh my God, I love it. I love live questions. Yes.
All right. So if you have a phone, pick it up, please, and dial 609-961-1699. We'd love to hear from you. So one thing that I'm wondering is, I was brought up old school where the guy is the one who's supposed to approach. And I kind of really believe that through most of my life, but I think it just went away. What are your thoughts? Do you want to be approached by a man, or do you want to do the approaching, or either way is fine? I'll start with you, Lisa.
Both sexes have the responsibility of approachability. And what I mean by that is it doesn't mean that a woman has to go up to a man and be nice to meet you, you know, in this really like masculine way and, you know, that kind of thing. I think as women, we love being approached. But if you don't have your cab light on and you don't give signals to be approached, that guy is, I don't care how alpha he is, he's still not going to approach you because you don't look approachable. So I always tell women it's about dropping the hanky. I mean, if we're going to go back to the old days, I still believe that that's true. And nowadays we don't have a hanky, but we metaphorically, we can do things to let a guy know, hey, come hither, come talk to me. I'm open for business. I'm approachable. I want to talk to you. And that can be just as simple as your body language. That's why I really focus on faces. I mean, 93% of communication is nonverbal, which is crazy if you think about it. So we're all getting so caught up in our heads of what to say and how to approach. But at the end of the day, if you look relaxed, you look friendly, you look positive, you're making eye contact, you're smiling, that's a good signal for a guy. I mean, you know, men have a tremendous fear of being rejected. And if they feel like you're not going to like be receptive, they're not going to approach. So that's what I'm saying, why we're at a stalemate right now, because like we're all waiting for each other. But the truth is to not worry about them, but you be you, and you open yourself up. That's when the magic happens. I'll tell you a quick story. I was working with a client, and I was doing a lot of work with her on just being open with her body language, her messaging, all of that. And this is the days when I was doing Wing Girl sessions. So she got it down. And when she went back home to San Francisco, is where she lived, she became like a barfly. She became the like best flirt ever. What was so amazing is before she used to be really in her head and wait for guys to approach her, but she learned to just like, create that energy everywhere and anywhere she goes. So she was at a bar one day, and she, didn't really see anyone she was interested in, but it didn't matter. She was flirting and having fun with everyone, and including her friends and people, around her. At the end of the night, this guy came up to her in a very nice way, not a creepy way. Really, he's like, "Excuse me, I hope you don't mind me saying, but I've been watching you and your energy is so amazing. I just wanted to come and say hello." And she didn't even see him. So you never know who's watching you. That guy ended up being her boyfriend later on. Mm. And so, I think especially when it comes to turning it on and off, a big mistake that people have is that they're target specific. Like, I'll only turn it on if and when, but you don't know who other people know. You don't know who's watching you. And what I tell people is really about making connections. Like, what can you be curious about, and how can you connect with a person, and letting go of that outcome. And that's when the magic happens. Again, that's when the connections are made. And I used to see it all the time when, people would come to me doing Wing Gal sessions, so much so where people, honest to God, people used to think I planted like men and women. They're like, "Kim, you planted that person." I'm like, I don't know that many people. It's just that when they started being more open, that's when they started meeting people.
That makes a lot of sense. And,
and sometimes all you have to do for a gentleman, if, for ladies, is say hi.
Seriously.
You say, "Hanky," I raise sons, and, I know that they get the responsibility historically, and it's hard to go up to a woman and not know that she's automatically going to say, "Oh, thank you, I'd like to talk more." They're human too, so just say hello. It's that simple.
And can I just say that what we think is obvious is not to them, right? Like, we think, and this is another thing, is that like what you might think is like over the top, they're still not getting the signal. So really, it's like sending that smoke signals out. Really make a point of being that like friendly, open person so that they get it, and guys tell me this all the time. It's like, you ladies, like, we're trying to read you. We're trying to understand if you're interested. So yeah, you're so right. Even just saying hi and smiling, that's all it really takes sometimes.
Yep. I think a lot of that has to do with confidence, and also relates back to that red dress moment. And I'm wearing a red dress, by the way. And even though I'm in the house,
beforehand.
I'm here in the house, and it's just me and my mom every day, day after day. When you put on the red dress and you put on the red lipstick, it requires a certain mindset, because you are going to stand out. Like, I normally wear black, actually. And it's like during the dating show, I put on red specifically, but I have to get in my head here to for the whole presence, I guess it is.
Oh my gosh, I have snake skin on. What does that say?
Snake skin is sexy, my dear.
Yeah, snake skin.
The red and the pink and the snake skin. Oh my God.
I look like a reptile today.
Do not.
It's really true, though. It's a mindset, right? And that's why I always refer to it as a dating costume, because it really is a costume. So many people get caught up on the functionality and not enough of what makes them feel sexy. And here's the thing. It is not about the man. It's not about the woman. It's about you, because when you are feeling it, you exude a certain energy, you embody that, and you move through the date or social situation with that energy. And that's what's so highly attractive.
And you don't have to be a natural at it. You can learn this. People, yes. I've heard it. I mean, our business is kind of overlap, and I've heard people say, oh, I don't have charisma. I know the people who do, they're just naturals at it. It can be a learned skill. Some people certainly have a higher, more natural proclivity toward having charisma, but it is something you can learn.
Lisa, it's so weird that you said that's exactly right. The reason why I chose the word charisma and like just the charisma quotient and all that is because when I was doing the research shows that in fact charisma is learned. It's not even like a matter of if, it is learned. So whether that's from our environment, it could be one person, and you're right, like there's a certain personality type that, you know, one might have that has a propensity towards, you know, being a little more outgoing and energetic, but I love it because it means that it's teachable, it's learnable. And that is evidenced by all the people that I've taught. Like oh my God, I did a dating coaching session with an 85-year-old woman, and it was so beautiful to watch her because she also had this thing, oh, I never learned it, I'm too old. And when I got done with her, we ended up at a place, it was so cute. And she met a gentleman at the bar. Like that's the thing. And what I also love about it is it gives people more confidence, because I believe, and this is why I love confidence too, as the crust of everything that we're talking about. And Dr. Jacalyn, you were saying that too, is that, you know, confidence I define as experience. I don't believe there's one person out there that's just not confident. It's because there might be areas in your life where you haven't had positive exposure or enough practice at something to be confident. So anytime people come to me and say, I'm not confident in dating or relationships, it's because they haven't had enough experience. Maybe they're a relationship person, they've never dated before, or maybe they had a string of bad relationships, so they're kind of in fear, so they haven't experienced something different. So that's why the more experience you get, the more confident you become.
Yep. Confidence is the result of mastery. When you master the skill, you will do it well, and you will not mind showing it. It's that simple too.
It is. And I think we overcomplicate it, right? Because I think sometimes when people think about that word, it can get overwhelming because they're like, oh, just be more confident. But what does that really mean? And that's why just breaking it down into like little things that you can do. I always say the small wins add up to the bigger picture. And like, I gave an assignment to a woman once to just wear red lipstick for a week. Like we started there because it was so scary exposing herself, and she couldn't believe it. She came back to me and she said, oh my God, Kim, that magic red bullet. I'm like, what happened? She said, well, I wore it and all these guys started talking to me. And because they started talking to me, I started talking to them. And it was like, again, it was a snowball effect. Then she started wearing sexier clothes. It was like, it really collected. And with that, her confidence grew.
One thing I want to share, just personal experience about the red lipstick. I love red lipstick. I'm wearing it today, but it's like you feel confident until you start talking, and then it's like, is the lipstick on my teeth? Because that happens, right? And people go like, like that, right? So I typically stay away from the red unless I'm not going to be doing a lot of talking.
Today. Well, we don't want stains on the teeth. That'll like shoot our confidence down, right?
So we were talking earlier, Kimmy, I think you said it, about when you feel confident, when you feel sexy. What's one thing that each of you, when it makes you feel sexy? Something that you do, something that happens. Lisa, I'll start with you.
You know, well, from a clothing perspective, anything form-fitting automatically. You know, I mean, I'm a size 6, so I'm small. But anything that's form-fitting, and I'm not talking about, being spanked into anything uncomfortable. I mean, you suffocate when you put on Spanx. I know they're effective, but boy, I need to breathe. So I think footwear and something form-fitting makes a very different impression than, sweatshirt and jeans. I mean, a sweatshirt and jeans can be sexy too, but I know for me, as soon as it shows the shape, it's better.
Ooh la la.
Yeah.
Excellent. Kimmy, how about you?
I want to see that dress, Lisa. Yeah, I want to go out one day. Come here to LA. Similar to what Lisa said, I think, and this is just also what men say they love. I mean, there's certain elements and things that they find sexy, and it's universal. Like I've spoken all over the world and different places, and it seems to be this Number one is a dress, for sure, hands down. There is not one man out there that would turn down a woman in a dress, but it's knowing the right type of dress, right? So at least to your point, I agree with that. And number two are heels. They love heels. And not only that, it's something that also you feel differently when you're walking. Your posture's more upright, your legs get more defined, it slows you down, and that's super sexy. So again, it's that costume effect that really can help you. And then another thing that doesn't pertain necessarily to clothes is music. Like I tell my clients, have a Spotify list of music that moves you, that makes you feel sexy, and dance around. Give yourself at least an hour in between your work self and your date self so that you get more in your body and out of your head. And I think that's a really good thing to think about before going on a date, because when you're in that analytical left brain mode, that's when you start going on an interview with your date versus something that's softer, more playful, and more in your body.
And you, Dr. Jacalyn?
I would say definitely high heels, but a specific high heel, the Red Soles, the Christian Louboutin. When I put them on, I feel like a movie star. And I have several pairs that I can't even walk in because my feet have changed over time. I'll just put them on and sit. I'll take them. This is before COVID. I'll take them in my bag. I wear flats, and then I get to where I'm going. I put the heels on. I just sit there like, hello. And then maybe I'll walk to the restroom. But
that's awesome.
It's just, I don't know. There's something about them. And then the other thing is, this doesn't have anything to do with clothing, but for the longest time, I realized I wasn't listening to my intuition. And now at this age, I listen to my intuition, and that makes me feel confident, which makes me feel sexy.
And this goes for men too, right? Right, Kimmy?
Oh yeah.
I told my sons, I said, listen, the girls are going to evaluate you. They are going to look at your feet. So do not minimize the impact of your shoes, right?
Don't even get me started with the manovers that I do. Seriously, I love doing manovers because it's not like they have each other to talk about fashion. It's not something they typically, sit on a Sunday afternoon and discuss, all the fashion trends. And they want the help. They really want to know how to please a woman. They want to know how to look good. So they're usually, oh my gosh, they're so much easier to shop. They also don't have as many body image issues. So they're like, oh, you like it? Okay, I'll take 3 of them. They just want to please. But what I find with men is that they don't realize how important image and their wardrobe is a huge factor to attraction for a woman. We love a man who is well groomed, who is well put together, and it's simpler for them. It doesn't take much to impress us, honestly. If they just put a little care into the way they dress. And you're right, Lisa, the shoes, both for men and women, are something that's highly attractive. Men notice women's shoes and we notice men's shoes. Because a guy could wear a nice t-shirt and dark wash jeans, and then he has these funky sneakers on, and all of a sudden he has a little bit of playful style to him. Again, it connotates confidence with that guy to be able to do something that's a little more fun and playful in his shoes.
Yeah, and if he shows up in nice clothes in his ratty old New Balance sneakers, well, that's just something too, which I've had happen.
I had that happen too.
What you gave up, bud?
Definitely.
Oh my God. I used to be a matchmaker as well back in the day. And the fun part about doing the matchmaking is you could hear each other's stories, from on both ends. And I'll never forget, this woman loved the guy that I set her up with. And she's like, oh, Kim, he's so great. But I just can't get past his fingernails. I'm like, what happened to the fingernail? She's like, well, they were long and they were not kept. And I said, oh gosh, well, that's an easy fix. I can help with that, but it's amazing how those things can be a buzzkill in that first impression.
And chewed fingernails. I've seen that. I'm like, oh my goodness, but nervous. And women too, I've seen where their fingers are gnawed down to the cuticle. It's not a good look.
Or the nose hairs, just trim them, we do not ask for much. We'll be very forgiving if you just put some intention and care into how you look.
I think that's a really good point. Forgiving. People do not have to be extroverted to have charisma. They do not have to be a size 2. You have to be who you are and work with what you have. I mean, my structure is not my sister's structure, which is not my brother's structure. We're all different, but you can have charisma no matter what shape and size you are. Everybody has the capacity.
Right. And to end with that is that it really is about how you feel about yourself. Because when you love you, that's when other people will too.
Amen to that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us here on Business Talk Radio and social media.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
Networking sucks and people suck at it, but nothing gives me more life than walking around and talking to people in an audience and really being able to identify, okay, I see where you're having trouble, let's work on fixing it. How do you help them? How do you provide value? My goal is to give them those tools to be able to go out and tackle that fear. Anywhere there's coffee is where I'll be. So I bring candy a lot to my speaking engagements. Like, of course that makes sense. I'm a little unconventional.
Ashley was very knowledgeable.
Very entertaining.
I learned a few new things, and to me that's the key.
What do you want them to say? How do you want to be perceived? You're going to get the most direct, tactical tips and practical takeaways when it comes to networking. These two here are super important. You will remember once the conversation started.
I love the tips that she gave out. I hate networking with a passion, so I feel like I can go through a meeting or event and not feel so uncomfortable.
When you're going to a presentation, you want to be educated. You also want to be entertained.
She was really fun and really personable, and everything she was saying was just very relatable.
She's got a lot of great ideas.
That will make you stand out so fast.
She comes across as someone that likes what they do and just doesn't try to sell you something.
Activity breeds results. If you're not doing anything, you're not going anywhere.
Just made me want to start networking, which I never thought I'd say before.
A networking strategy that works for you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jacalyn. Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents A Better You. And here to tell us more is the creator of A Better You, Al Cini. Al, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. It's always a pleasure working with you. And everyone out there, you might be a coach working with individuals professionally or personally, or you might be a consultant working with businesses, or you might be a trusted advisor specializing in an area like finance, let's say, or the law, or healthcare. Whatever of those roles you relate to, you all have one thing in common, and that is you're working every day to help people become better versions of themselves, a better you. And Dr. Jacalyn's A Better You program is an opportunity for you to express your expertise in a particular area for 15 minutes in front of an audience of people who are looking for help from people like you.
Yep.
So, Dr. Jacalyn, maybe you can tell everybody how they can learn more about this.
It's so easy. You go to abetteryou.tv and you sign up to book your session.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello, hello, and welcome back to It's All About Dating. We just love this show, girls, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah.
So much fun. Lisa Manyoky, my co-host, and our guest, Kimmy Seltzer, all the way from Los Angeles. So we've hit on so many topics today. Kimmy, when you think about your podcast and the message that you want to convey to the world, can you share with us what that is?
Yeah, it's been such a beautiful journey and evolution with my podcast. I started it really going on other people's podcasts, like this show or other shows, and then people just kept coming to me and saying, "Hey, Kim, where's your show?" I mean, that's how things start. And like we were talking about confidence, I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I have the confidence to do that, right? But it takes practice, it takes experience, and it took action. And so 4 years ago now, wow, it's hard to believe that I started this podcast. It's called The Charisma Quotient, for, more connection and more love. And it's about everything and anything that has to do with bettering yourself and finding love. But really that love starts with you. And so I interview, a lot of experts, not directly even in the field. In fact, some of the really fun interviews that I've done are people in other fields and businesses, having different aspects of love and connection. And I also do live coaching on there, which is super fun. And so I will coach someone live so they can kind of hear, the breakthroughs that can happen in such a short amount of time. I also do Where Are They Now episodes, where they, my success stories come back and they talk about, where they are now. And I also just do solo interviews on various topics relating to, relationships and love and dating. And so, yeah, I so love it. It's audio mostly, and it can be found everywhere and anywhere you listen to podcasts. And sometimes I'll do some interviews that can be found on YouTube. And now I have a new show. Actually, I don't know if I share this with you. It's on Amazon Live. It's called Kimmy's Love Hub. So you can catch me there. And a lot of times, like, I'll interplay between, my podcast, but also like a live component where you can see me, and I have guests and products that I promote. So it's been fun. It's a journey. And honestly, I love connecting with people in that way. I think what's beautiful about like a show like this or a podcast is that it allows us to reach people from all over the world. I mean, I've been blown away with the conversations that I've had, because I always offer a free breakthrough call for people. And by the way, if anyone is interested in chatting, I'm happy to give you that link. Because to me, sometimes people don't even know where to start. They might be listening to something and say, gosh, that sounds like me, or wow, I wish I knew where to go from here. And I think that's the hardest part, but just getting on a call and helping people from all over the world, better their lives. To me, it's been amazing. So my podcast has really been a big part of my journey and my business.
Well, congratulations on all your success.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 years, how many episodes do you think you've done?
185.
Wow.
To be exact. Wow. I know. I'm like, how did I get here? Honestly, it was just like what we were talking about dating. I think that's the best thing to do, is to not focus on where you're going to go, but where you are right now. And I just kept doing that every week. I just, I had these things and these episodes and ideas and interviews. And before I knew it, now I have a relationship with this podcast that I never thought I could have. So it's been great.
Well, we're happy for you. And I want to make sure that we get this out there before the end of the show. So what is the best way for people to contact you? And again, what are the services that you offer?
Yeah, well, the best way to get a hold of me, you can go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com. And honestly, you can find me everywhere and anywhere, including Clubhouse, which is the new app. If you're on there, at Kimmy Seltzer is my handle for everything. KIMMYSELTZER. And I have a variety of services. Obviously, because of when COVID hit, I had to put a lot of my services online, and it's been amazing because now I can reach people from all over the world. So I have group coaching programs. I also have individual virtual programs. I do flirt workshops. I do something called a virtual makeover, which is a really popular service that I, in 1 hour, can help you find a dating image that is right for you. So I teach you about your body type. I go over your colors and what's a sexy style. And I have the software. It's super cool because I can pin different ideas from, like, we go virtual shopping. It's like Pinterest. So I pin different looks and you can purchase the outfits that I pick out for you right in the software. And then, of course, now I'm starting to get back to some in-person stuff. So as I was mentioning before, I do wing girl sessions and shopping sessions. And I hope to get to the point where I can do workshops again, because I love the in-person workshops. So if anyone is interested in getting a hold of me, you can definitely, hit me up on social media or at my website. And for your listeners, Jackie, I'm happy also to give a free gift of a free body type guide. I have one for women, one for men, and they can take themselves into action by just seeing what their body type is. And then they get a guide about what clothes, flatter that figure and what clothes to stay away from.
That's fantastic. So anyone listening or watching, if they contact you and they mention Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, they will get this free guide. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And the man one, it's called a man's fashion manifesto, because as we were talking, like, men secretly want to know this stuff. And so there's not as many body types for men, but in this manifesto, I go over like grooming tips, as we were talking about before, and other things to keep in mind when it comes to their image.
That's great. Hygiene is real important too. I know that in all my studies of charisma and what's attractive, again, if you have a big nose, you have a big nose. If you have certain skin, it's what you have. But it's really important to understand that your ability to be charismatic can override what you believe to be physical flaws or weaknesses, right?
Absolutely. I'll tell you a quick story around that. It was funny. I was coaching this guy and I was trying to get a feel for what he found sexy, right? So this woman passed us by and she was tall and thin and she was really beautiful. And I asked him, do you think that this woman is sexy? And he goes, well, I mean, she's attractive, but no, I don't think she's sexy. I wouldn't approach her. So interesting. Okay. So then about 30 seconds later, another woman passes him by and she was a little bit shorter, a little bit heavier set, but boy, was she working it, right? Like she moved across and she looked in his eye and kind of did a little smile and kept on going. I said, so you think that woman is sexy? He's like, oh yeah. I said, wow. I said, so what was it? Like, what's the difference? And he said, well, quite honestly, yeah, that first woman was attractive and she's pretty, but she doesn't look comfortable. That second woman, she is so comfortable in her body with herself, and that is super hot. That is super attractive. So to your point, Lisa, like it really is about us and how we feel about ourselves. And when we look in the mirror, what do we see? Yeah, there's going to be things that maybe we wish were different. But if we focus on what we have and what we are instead of what we're not, just think of how different you'll think of yourself and how other people will think of you when you have that mindset.
Right. And the person who is so obsessed with a certain style, or you have to wear heels, or they're asking of you what you never will sustain, because that's one of my issues. You can't just do something for a period of time and then stop doing it. That's bait and switch. Yeah. It's actually unfair to the person that is pursuing you or who you're pursuing. So you have to understand there's a fine line between playing the part and making the part work for you rather than faking it. Do not fake it just to get a date. It's not going to last and people will end up disappointed.
Well, it's true. And that's why I love teaching people about their body type to start with. It's not just about putting cookie cutter looks on people. It's about understanding, hey, like, what is your silhouette and what clothes flatter that figure,
Right.
and what clothes to stay away from, coming from more of a scientific point of view. And it's really true, because your body will look different in different clothes. And when you wear the clothes that make your body feel good and look good, you'll have more confidence with it. And those are the key pieces. Those are the things that will help you. And so you're right. Like, there's such a fine line between wearing something that's not you versus one that maybe you're scared to wear because you just don't quite know or see yourself there yet. Like my red dress moment, when I saw that dress, when she held it up, I at first did not think it was me. To that point, like, I'm like, that's not me. No, I couldn't wear that, right? But when I tried it on, I really saw it was me, and so much of that's not me was fear. So there is a fine line between that, and sometimes you do have to act as if until you become, but as long as it's right for you, is my point.
Right. And when it's right. You can feel uncomfortable because something's not familiar. But there's a certain quality when, even as simple as putting on a coat, when it fits your arms and when it's comfortable. And when you go like this, it doesn't tug in the back. It's the same. It's clothing. The same goes for shoes and for people.
Absolutely. There's this woman who came and did a makeover. I'll end with this story. She did the whole shebang. Like, we did coaching, we did therapy, we did the makeover to Wing Girl, we did pictures too. Sometimes I'll do photo shoots with people, which is amazing because they can see themselves in a certain way. So as I took her history as being a therapist, I found that there was so much she was doing to give her power away, and a lot had to do with her upbringing. So she was attracting a lot of narcissists and fixer-uppers, blah, blah, blah. And I saw her apologize even in our interview, but it wasn't until I said, okay, now we're going to go shopping. This is where we're starting, because I start from the outside. She starts totally freaking out and having a panic attack right as we're getting close to the doors. I said, what's going on? She said, well, there's something I haven't told you. I said, what's that? She said, well, I've covered up all my mirrors at home. I haven't seen myself in 20 years.
Oh, so sad.
So sad. Like, and, I was thinking to myself, gosh, if I had been a therapist at that point, I probably would have sat her down and talked her through it and did maybe, a little bit of that head therapy. But, I was so grateful that she was with me in that moment, because that wasn't what she needed to talk through it. She needed evidence of something different. So we go through the store, and I said, I just want you to do me a favor. I want you to try this jacket on, and I want you to put these boots on and just twirl around in the mirror. Give me 5. That's it. Just 5 seconds. And then you can shut it down. So she did, and she's looking in the mirror, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then she just kept staring, right? And the tears are coming down her face. But this time it was tears of joy. And she looked at herself. She's like, Kim, I've never seen myself so beautiful. Yeah. And we just hugged, and it was just amazing. And I created a monster from there. The end of story is that then she was skipping through the store. She was trying things on with the door open. Did a photo shoot. She went back home, dated up a storm, and now she has a boyfriend.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad that you helped her, and you were meant to be there in that moment. That's obvious. Yeah, that's amazing. Totally. Well, our show is coming to an end, sadly. We'll have to have you back on, Kimmy, because I know there's so much more for you to talk about with us.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love that.
Yes, we'll definitely have you back. So once again, if you can give your contact information, and I'll run your banner, but for people in Radio Land.
Yes, it's KimmySeltzer.com is my website, or at Kimmy Seltzer on social media. DM me, email me. I'd love to help you. I offer the free calls. I'll give you all the free body type guide. You'll be in my community. I also have a Facebook group for women called Love Makeover Insiders. So if you are on Facebook and you enjoy groups, that's free. So definitely that's a way of getting connected and in my community.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today, Kimmy. It was really a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my God, I love the synergy and the energy between all of us. So I was grateful.
We'll have to do a clubhouse room or something together.
Oh my God, like hands down. Yes.
Yeah. Let's work on that. So we'll see you backstage in just a second.
Okay.
Thanks. Lisa.
That was great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. She's a great guest, and you can just see she's got this charisma herself, right? That you're drawn to her. So she's definitely in the right line of work, and I'm sure she's helping plenty of people, and I'm hoping people will contact her. KimmySeltzer.com. Lisa, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm working actually on, I have this presence intelligence alignment inventory and customizing it for daters. So presence intelligence, there's a link up at the top for alignment inventory. Just take a peek at that.
That's excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, my dear friend, I'll see you backstage. I'll just close out and I'll be right there. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We've had 2 great shows, and tomorrow we have 4 shows. We have Pet Psychic Amina, which is always a blast. She gets to talk to your pets or your pets that have passed on, and she provides messages. So join us for that. And then, of course, we have our show about stories of hope and overcoming adversity. I have a story to share, and we also have the variety show. So join us tomorrow on social media. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and of course, Business Talk Radio. Otherwise, it was great having you today, and we look forward to having you back with us again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
My stomach issues make me want to stay home. But that's not an option. No matter how prepared I am, I still feel nervous. Enough is enough.
If this sounds familiar, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation can offer you support and connect you with a specialist.
Don't keep your symptoms to yourself. Get help at spillyourguts.org today.